Hey.
Hello. Welcome back to the Miles and Miles podcast, a podcast for moms chasing goals through all seasons of life. I am Shanna.
I'm Olivia.
And then we have our guest.
I'm Brittany. Sorry, I jumped in.
Oh,
You're
no,
good. We love
good. Yep, we got Brittany on, and we cannot wait to dive into her story. This podcast brings you training tips, mom and expert interviews, and the kind of best friend banter that makes you feel like you're on a run with us. Whether it's your first 5K, your next marathon, or a stroller tempo, we've got your miles and your sanity. Since we're building a new platform, we'd appreciate it if you can rate, subscribe, and share our podcast with another fellow mama runner and get them to submit a mom shout out. You guys, we are tired of asking. We want to shout you guys out. Seriously, nothing brings us more joy than when we get a mom shout out, an everyday hero shout out, and we're just like, oh my gosh, who is this person? We need to interview them next. So yeah, submit yourself. Do not feel shy to do that. It is your opportunity to brag about how much you do, because moms do a crap ton. It doesn't have to be anything big. You don't have to run some crazy fast time. You could say, I made it through the week with my freaking kids solo parenting. And that's enough of my respect.
Yes.
So.
We're all about that. It's
Yes.
so funny. We were just talking about bridging the gap between just mother runner stories. And I feel like what our goal with this podcast was exactly that, was to share other people's stories and see that we all share these common threads. But I think also what we've done with it is we've taken times out of everything. I can't even remember the last time that we did an episode where we talked about speed or anything like that. It's cool to be fast and to hear oh, how did she do it? How did they do it and stuff? But I feel like we've really taken that out in so many aspects. And that's been so, I don't know, it's just been really refreshing to be able to share so many stories, and it makes it just so much more relatable. And again, we share
It's
all
better to
these common
connect.
threads. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it makes it easier to connect. I know it's helped me because I am not a fast runner. I have
But-
goals. I want to get
but-
fast, but I was not a high school runner, and I'm learning. So
yes. I wasn't either. So it's that for me, I felt like I always was seeing people who were fast or had times that I wanted, but then they had all this experience and stuff. And now it's neat though, because Shanna has all this experience in the track
And now
world.
she's outrunning me.
Oh,
that's
no.
awesome. She
No.
is.
I'm not. It's so funny. I was just thinking, I was like, she's totally gonna school me on our run tomorrow, and she's so pregnant. It's gonna be embarrassing. But
she'll just blame the hormones.
yeah, exactly. Little
You're she doesn't
endorphin
have a
boost.
period. That's not fair.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference.
Hey,
Oh,
I
mine
felt like I
should
ran stronger pregnant when I was running pregnant. So
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how a lot of hormones could play into that. Or just with pregnancy, there are good days and bad days. And so if you catch a good day when you do have a speed workout, I could totally see that playing in your favor, But also
Maybe.
Shanna's just super, super fast. So I love picking her brain about the track world and stuff, because I didn't know anything about it. And then also how that does translate into the times that we see these people produce, and it's well, how did they do that? And she can kind of break it all down for me, which is super cool.
it's
But-
inspiring either way.
I mean,
think whether
somebody
you're fast or
mentioned
not. it's-
somebody mentioned the booty bottoms the other day, and I got this wonder in my mind: is somebody going to be entering the 10K scene on the track?
I mean, well, it was me. It was me asking. Well, because I had seen pictures of people that were running in the running briefs and buns,
Yeah.
and I was like, where are they storing their fuel for a marathon? Because I'd be all about it on the track. I'd be like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
wearing those, but otherwise I need pockets. I
would have it taped all over me, and then I
Yeah.
would look weird. I'd be the
Yeah.
running gel. Hey.
Same. Well, the general consensus on that was that people are wearing shirts. The picture of the person that I saw, she didn't have a bandit running shirt on. So there was no
Okay.
pockets. So I was like, is she not fueling? Which that's none of my business. I was just so
Yeah.
curious if I was missing something, or
Are they elite and have that stuff on their bottles already? Maybe.
yeah, that would make sense. This person wasn't. That's why I was so
Okay.
curious if I was just missing something, or if there's other brands than just the bandit running one. I don't own anything by them, because their website
Yeah.
was little there was a membership, and I was like,
Wow.
oh, wow, I can't commit. I already accidentally signed up for Fabletics one time, and I was like, wait,
Oh, I've done
And
that.
that-
And
and
then I
that
go,
was
and I'm
enough.
like, how did I sign up? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
I just skip every month. I was like, I don't know what this is. And then, anyways.
Mom life.
Oh, that was a lot. Well, I do have an everyday hero shout out. She is shouting herself out. And the first paragraph of this, I feel like is so relatable it was very relatable for me, but I feel like for so many people that were in the same boat. This is Casey Barker. She's shouting herself out. And Casey Barker started running in March of 2020 after being furloughed as a full-time optometrist and transitioning to a stay-at-home mom of 3 young boys. Facing a crisis of identity during the early COVID-19 uncertainty, she accepted a last-minute invitation to train for a virtual 5K. After successfully completing the 5K, Casey quickly moved on to crush a virtual 10K and hasn't looked back. She has since convinced her husband, Matt, to join her. Following their first full marathon at the Walt Disney World Marathon, they set an ambitious goal to run a half marathon or further in all 50 states. Casey has completed 2 full marathons and several half marathons. To celebrate turning 40, she will run her 3rd marathon in Biloxi, Mississippi on December 14th, marking their 10th state in the 50-state challenge. Running helped Casey figure out who she was again outside of work and motherhood, providing a positive outcome for a challenging time.
That is so cool.
I love that. It's so cool. Like, especially involving your husband and yeah. I mean, I just feel
that's
like
how I met my husband in an indirect way, kind of.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my
We
gosh.
met at a 10K. Well, we met through mutual friends.
Mhm.
We kind of knew each other and were dating other people. And then 6 months later, no longer with the guy I was dating. He was no longer with the girl he was dating. We were at a 10K. I was training for my first 50K. My dad was supposed to run it with me, but ended up having to go back to Nebraska for a funeral. So I still ran it. I was sick. I had bronchitis, dressed up like an elf. Like, it's going to be fun. Like, do it. He was there after because he ran it. And I was like, oh, I remember him. Hung out for a little bit. And then he kept hanging out. And then he's like, hey, I want to train for a half marathon. And we had the Augusta half marathon coming up in February. So this was about 12 years ago, this coming weekend. And I was coaching a little bit. So I was like, I'll coach you. I'll help you. So we connected on Facebook, went to lunch, gave him a training plan. He wanted to hang out again. And turns out, long story short, he was not interested in running the half marathon, but signed up for it because I told him I'd train him for it, and kind of history from there. So he did, though, just to complete the circle, run the half marathon with 0 training.
Wow. That's some dedication to the relationship.
Yeah. So and I was at a point because I was done. I was like, I'm done with guys. I'm done dating. Boys are dumb. Like, it was me and my daughter. I was a single mom, and I was like, I don't need them. We're done. So I trained for it. My goal at that point was to try to do a sub 2 hour because I hadn't broken 2 hours. And I remember we were on the course. It was probably like mile 8. He actually passed me on the run. And I'm like, are you kidding me? He didn't train. He is not going to beat me. Like, this is not okay.
I hate that.
And I repassed him, and then I think I did 1:59, and then he came in like right over 2 hours and some change.
That's like very impressive for the both of you, though, too.
Yeah. So that's kind of part of how our story started.
I'm happy that you beat him.
Yes. Yeah. I was like, I trained my dad for his first half marathon. He beat me. I was like, okay, this guy cannot beat me.
Yes.
So
I love that so much.
The competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and he hasn't ran one since. He couldn't walk for a week, and said he would never do another one. Yeah.
He's like, listen, I just needed the ring on her finger. That's all. That's all I was running to the finish line for.
Right.
Man. Well,
sorry if my dog's barking in the background.
Oh, you're totally good. I was like, you'll probably hear some noise behind my door in a second. But how is everybody's week going? How's life? I mean, Brittany, you did mention that you ran a race recently.
I did.
So we want to hear a little bit of that.
I did my first half marathon and road race in 8+ years. So I haven't raced in a while.
Oh my gosh.
Coming off of a half Ironman that I did in September, and did well. My goal is 150 just because I feel strong, yet, wanted to. Sorry, my dog. Ended up doing 156, felt great. My whole family bet on me, but because it was 26, 27 degrees and I normally am running in shorts and a tank top down south, thought the cold would slow me down and put me at like 215, 210. So it was fun to kind of say, hey, they also, the funny part about this, because in triathlons, probably TMI, they also bet whether or not I'd pee my pants during the race.
Stop. I love
Nope,
your
it's
family.
literally on the wall still.
That
Will
is
Brittany pee her
so
pants?
funny.
Yes or no? And so I put a big, no, I did not pee my pants in this race.
I love that so
On the
much.
wall. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
It's
I
still there.
know.
I
Oh
was
my
like, I'm gonna
gosh.
leave it there. It's
You're
good.
like, listen, this body carried human beings, okay? Leave it alone.
when you have to go, you have to go. Like I
Yeah.
I don't want to stop, because if I stop, my legs are gonna hurt. And I just, at the end of the day, you go, you get water, splash yourself, and keep running. Why
Splash
not?
yourself.
That's so awesome.
Whoops.
That's what I do in triathlon.
That's what I'll be doing for my marathon. Wow,
What?
water all over
It's
the
like
place.
drinking, and then you're just kind of like, oops, yep, nope, okay, we're good, let's keep going. So I do, yes, I am not afraid to admit the fact that I do pee my pants when doing road races and triathlons.
I mean, I feel like that is totally acceptable, totally fine. I think I'm gonna be honest, the hardest part about about that is actually peeing while running. I was
Yeah.
like tried to during Chicago, because when you're very nervous at the
Yeah.
start and stuff, and I was like, oh, I still have to pee, and I'm
Mm.
like at mile 2, and I was like, I'm gonna pee my pants. And then like I couldn't, but I was like, where did it go? Because I didn't pee the whole race, and I don't know where it went.
Where it went.
I was like, I think it's just like a phantom pee. But I remember
Yeah.
my friend
Yes.
beforehand, she was like, it's actually very hard. Yeah, I was like, it must be the phantom pee. My husband, he would be like, that is so badass. That is awesome. He would love it if I did
My
that.
husband's like, you really peed your pants? I'm like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't touch my bike shoes.
Don't touch my bike shoes. That's one way to get people not to touch your stuff.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and when
just-
I was looking at getting back into
Yeah,
it, I mean, I'll buy
over.
stuff off like Poshmark, but I'm like, I'm not buying used tri kits and running shorts, because I know what I do.
Yeah. I draw the line. Yeah.
Yeah, I draw a line. That will be a new purchase on the credit card, honey. Sorry.
That's really funny.
I have an expensive hobby. Love you, and I'll
Yeah.
ask forgiveness later.
Yeah, ask forgiveness later.
No.
Well, not to mention to you guys, she ran this course and it was like a 600 plus elevation. Okay. So anybody that's like, not anybody that comes from the ultra scene or the trail scene, they're probably like, oh, that's not that much. But in the road racing scene, running anything over like 130, 140 elevation gain over 13 miles is actually considered not a PR course. So the fact that you did that
didn't know
on
that.
600 plus foot gain course, which is like, you don't even really see that. Like New York Marathon is considered a hilly marathon because it gains like 800 feet, like over the whole duration. And that's for a marathon. So you're doing that in half the distance almost. Like that's a really, really tough course. So
Yeah.
anyways, I had to put that out there because that alone to me is like another 2 minutes, depending on how
least,
strong you are on the hills.
And
I'm
they don't
like,
start until like mile 6, like 5 or 6 is
Yeah.
when the hills
Towards
started.
the
So,
end. Yeah,
it was
that's
kind of like,
rough.
oh, this, I've got this. And then you're like, oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. This.
Well, you did amazing, and I'm so glad you proved all of the little check things off the stupid side that's on the wall.
Yep. Nope. Nobody guessed my time right. So there were a
That's
few in the
awesome.
150s, but I was
Yeah.
like, see, guys, the cold, like my daughter would say, the cold doesn't bother me anyways.
I love
Exactly.
that.
Yes.
I bet Olivia loves that even more.
So my daughter, Olivia, she's 3, and that's
Oh,
like her,
cute.
she goes around singing that. So
Oh,
Well, that's amazing. I am 32 and I go around singing.
yeah,
I'm 40
just
and I go
Olivia
around
that.
singing that. So it's okay.
I love it. It's so funny because we talk about our marathon playlists quite often, and mine are a lot of like show tunes and like Frozen and stuff. But it's because in the race, it's like the one way that I can really feel super connected, and I get like these energy boosts of thinking about my kids singing these songs. So like there's like an Encanto song, and I think about Grayson singing it, and it's so funny because it's like not running music, and when I'm training, I can't really listen to it. But the second it's in the marathon playlist, I'm like, oh my god!
Yeah.
So
Well, they have good beats to it. I mean,
yes, exactly. So Shanna's like, no. Eminem. Okay.
I do. I've got my hardcore And then there's time, because I do triathlons, I'm actually trained. I don't listen to a lot of music. So this was my first time running in a long time with music. And
yeah.
I remember halfway through, I turned it off. I was like, I can't do this. I'm done.
Oh,
Like, I
really?
just need the quiet. But then, you know, you
Mhm.
get in your head, why am I doing this? I shouldn't have signed up. Wait, I hate this. Okay,
Yeah.
we're never doing this again. And then I'm like, right there, like, okay, let's go. And then here I am signing up for another half marathon this weekend. So, you know,
That's so funny. I know.
That's
the way the brain works.
true runner mentality right there. Say that you'll swear it off, you'll never do it again, and then you're back there doing it again. And you're asking yourself the same damn questions.
Well, my half Ironman, like I remember the swim bike. Well, the swim sucks. I hate swimming. I survived the swim, and I'm like, just get me out of the water. The bike's great,
Yeah.
love it, felt good. Like we've got this. The run, I'm like, why did I do this? I'm not doing this. This is my last. We're never doing this. And then as we're flying back from New York, literally at taxi before taking off, I signed up for a full Ironman. I hit submit as the flight was like taking off, and I looked at my husband. I was like, I'll let him see the credit card bill, and then ask for forgiveness later.
That's awesome.
He said yes, so I hit submit, and I'm like, all right, we're gonna do this. And a week later, I'm like, you told me I could.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I wish more races, especially for like early bird season, like when it's like the price is pretty low. I wish they had like that affirm payment thing or like
Yes.
afterpay or whatever. Cause
Yeah.
like
Well,
man,
Ironman does because of how
oh,
expensive
that's
it is.
so cool.
Yeah.
See,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
so cool. Cause I would sign up for all of them and you would actually end up saving money because you're saving like 80 plus. I'm a procrastinator, so I'm always get the end bird sale.
Yeah, like me signing up for the half this
last and
weekend
final
is
call.
a little
Yeah.
pricey, but at the end
Yeah.
of the day, you know, I didn't know it was happening and I felt good. And I'm like, oh, I can do this. What are we doing Sunday? Oh, I can do this.
I'm free.
It's a training run with a medal. It's great,
That's
A
so
training
awesome.
right? I
Yeah.
want rewarded for my training.
I love that. So
That's
much
so
better.
And then I can go back to my doctors and say, look, I did it again and again and again. And you told me this would never happen again. So clearly you were wrong in the nicest way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's so crazy. I've been dying to see how much I paid for CIM the first time that I signed up because I didn't end up running it. And I scoured my email and I finally found it just like 2 days ago and I paid like $385 because I signed up for a bib that was like it was sold out, but there was like a charity bib available and that's how much they cost. And I was like, that was very clearly we were dual income, no kids. 'Cause otherwise, my husband he would like if I did that now, he'd be like, "This better be like you better be so fast at this race."
You better be going to the Olympics on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I'm just kidding.
funny.
He's very support. Honestly,
Yeah, very supportive.
once I saw how much a round of golf costs, I was like, "You
Right?
can't say anything ever again, ever." Because that's one round of golf that you're just going to casually partake in. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That is crazy.
I won't talk about Ironman costs because
yeah, I feel like I remember looking them up one time. And
I paid over $900 for my full.
Ooh. Oh, that's why they have a firm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because that was, yeah. I mean,
That's
you are doing
crazy.
3 events.
I mean,
so
it is 3 events. You have 17 hours to complete it. Clearly don't want to take 17 hours for me personally because I've done 5 before.
Wow.
It used to not be as much, but I remember my very first one, it was like $500 or $600. And this was back in
crazy.
2010. And so
Yeah.
it's just, you know, inflation. But yeah, so when I registered, my husband's like,
such a
you paid
bummer.
$900 for a race?
Yeah.
I'm like, you said I could.
That is wild.
It's my
Like
Christmas
that-
present.
I feel like that would make it so hard accessible wise, like accessibility for like people financially. Like that's crazy.
It is. I have
$900.
I have found my sanity in momhood with a very expensive hobby, getting back into it. Like I used to race 10 years ago and then life threw me curveballs and hurdles and setbacks. And I missed it. And so I'm thankful my husband supports the fact that I'm
Yeah.
getting back into a sport because he's like, well, put on your Christmas list what you need. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I want a new bike and that's like $4,000. I need bike
Yeah.
shoes. That's like $200, you know, and a helmet. And like I'm racing on stuff 10 years old that's slowly disintegrating and falling apart,
Yeah.
but it works. It's still usable. There are running shoes. Obviously, I told him like, no, I need new running shoes. Bike shoes I can manage, even though they're old and you know the Velcro's not working as well. But like, hey,
Yeah.
they work because elasticity does apparently have a time frame on it.
That's
I remember putting on
crazy.
one race belt and it literally snapped in half. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not using that one. Let's.
You're like, well, that limits my options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
So
my gosh.
I remember seeing how the first time how expensive the bikes were. I remember talking to my husband about it, but we were having a miscommunication. I was like, "Hey, I want to go get a bike." And I was not, I had just gotten into marathoning. So his mind went to road racing bike. I was talking about like a Walmart Huffy Duffy bike, like with a basket. And so he was like, "Oh, we have to go get fitted and we'll have to save up." And I'm like, wow, they're like $90. Like, why would we have to save up for that? And why would I get fitted? So then we were like having this discussion and I was like, well, let's go right now. And I was driving. And so I just drove right across the street to Walmart. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, we're going to go get me fitted for a bike.
Stop.
Oh, that's awesome. I just remember, and he was like, what? You can't buy road bikes there. And I was like, all bikes go on the road. I don't understand. I had no idea that this was like a whole other world. So then yeah. And they were like thousands of dollars. I was like, I would not personally. I wasn't into biking at the time. I had a spin bike that went nowhere and I was fine with it. And it's fine with that exact same bike 5 years later. So yeah, I remember seeing that. And now I'm like, it's so interesting just thinking about how people are fitted for them and how lightweight they are and how like they are so
aerodynamic.
Yeah,
it plays like I hated my bike because I was struggling on it. I was like, I can't pedal. I feel like I'm slow. I feel like my legs are heavy. And it turned out the crank was too long. Like just the small little piece, like making it shorter, I was more efficient. My fit was better and I was able to get better rotation. So going into this race, I was like, oh, I love my bike again. Like I can pedal and it's not like drudging through quickstand. And, I thought I was going crazy. I was like, I promise, like, I feel strong, but why do I suck on the bike? Like, what is wrong with me? And there's nothing wrong. Your bearings are fine. Everything looks good. I'm like, I know it's not me. I mean, realistically, I don't think it's me. And thankfully it wasn't. So I wasn't crazy. But yeah, all the things that go into it that you don't, and I don't know. I'm still learning. Like
I bet. I mean, I'm sure it's like you're always able to learn. It's also 3 separate sports. So if you're, trying to adjust in one area, you're still having to like live a full life outside of it. So, you're always
I went into my half. I told people going into my first half Ironman in over 10 years, I did maybe 5 hours of training a week. And they're like, how? I was like, I traveled for work. I have 3 little kids. Like I did what I could. And I still went. My time was 6:12 or 6:15.
Wow.
So
oh my gosh. Wow.
my goal is sub 6 and I was fine with it was my first one back. So you have your, like, I want to do this, but I was happy to finish. I bawled my eyes out when I crossed the finish line. I was like, I'm not hurting. I promise. I was told I'd never race again. And here I am. And,
That's so crazy.
It's one of those. And then I look back in May, I was literally doing kind of interval, run a minute, walk 2 minutes, run a minute, walk 2 minutes. And I would kind of build on that. But when it got to run 2 minutes, walk 1 minute, I couldn't run the 2 minutes. I couldn't run more than a minute in May. And I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And now here I am, I can run 13 miles and building for a full. So I think it's consistency over talent. Sometimes I take the times out while I do want to be faster for me personally. And that's just to race against myself and not try to be out there and be like, oh, look at me, I'm fast. No, I'm the runner that will, even if I'm doing well, if you're struggling, hey, we're going to stop and I can slow down and let's get you to that finish line. So, yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into your bios, like so people can get to know a little bit about your background, and then we can hop into some questions because we got a crap ton to talk about, which I'm really excited about. So,
me too.
Okay, Brittany, she is a mom of 4, a full-time working mom who travels for her career, and a relentless endurance athlete. Her running journey began in her early 20s, inspired by her dad and fueled by a major turning point in her life. At 19, during her first pregnancy, she was diagnosed with a rare form of ovarian cancer. Instead of letting that diagnosis define her, she turned running and completed her first marathon in 2009, discovering her love for long distance. Over the years, she has faced multiple cancer battles, an autoimmune disease, bullying in the sport. I'm excited to talk about that one, by the way. Pregnancy-induced heart failure, birth trauma, postpartum depression, literally everything under the sun this woman has gone through. And I think there's going to be so much relatability in your episode because of that. She even completed her first 100-mile race while 9 weeks pregnant, despite being told she would never race again. She has continued to prove that adversity does not get the final say. After a total hysterectomy and entering menopause at 38, she took the time to heal physically and emotionally, lost 80 pounds, which is crazy because I look at you and I'm like, what? Where? How?
I have
Did you
pictures. I
ever
have
have
proof.
80 pounds to lose? You're so tiny and petite.
Thank you.
Has made a powerful comeback to racing. She recently crossed a half Ironman finish line and now is chasing big goals, including qualifying for Kona and writing a book to inspire others. Her message is simple: you are more than your diagnosis, and your story is not over.
It's a
Wow.
lot. I don't want to cry.
Mic
I'm going to
drop.
cry. I hear it and I'm just like, holy cow.
Yeah,
But
full
I mean,
body chills just reading that. Like
on paper, medically, my doctors told me I should have died 4 times, and I'm still
yeah.
here. My
Mhm.
oncologist called me a cat with 9 lives, so I've gone through 4. I have 5 left, apparently. I'm not allowed to use them, though, according to my husband. So, and I make humor over some of the things. I used to joke. I was like, oh, I must have been born on a Monday, or, what did I do in a past life? Because it's just like, really? Really? Again? Like, okay,
Yeah.
what's next? It just feels like every major event that you're celebrating came with loss or trauma. And it just, yeah, now I'm hearing it kind of back. I'm like, oh, wow, that is a lot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's why I share. I want to inspire people because I've been in the dark days where it sucked. And if you really look at the mental health aspect, maybe medically 4 times shouldn't be here. There's probably another 2 times I can look back on and say,
Yeah.
my kids and my husband kept me earthside because it got to be a lot. So even tying in, like you said, the bullying played a factor into some of that too. So
Mm-hmm.
not
Definitely
to
that.
bring the
So no, you're fine. Let's start. Let's go to the beginning with running. So running was in your life before pregnancies, before cancer. This has been a part of your life since your early 20s.
Yeah, I tried track in middle school and I sucked at it because I was not fast. My dad was a runner. He was a sprinter, and my dad always inspired me. He'd go out and run. He'd do 5Ks, 10Ks with me growing up. Didn't know what they were, but was like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that, but didn't know how to run. Um, didn't do well in track. I actually quit because I didn't feel like I was good enough at it. I was someone who would always start things, and if I wasn't good, I would quit and move on to something else. I actually grew up playing the violin because it was something I was good at. So, sports didn't come to me until my 20s. Well, my dad was still running, getting back into it. He had a few injuries, but my uncle, his brother, lost like 50 pounds or so. He was kind of always the bigger uncle and lost a bunch of weight and ran his first marathon. I'm like, well, if Uncle
Wow.
George can do it, I can do it. So I did sign up for a marathon, went to it, didn't run it because I was scared, and then got involved with team. So that was 2008. And then in 2009, I joined Team in Training so I could have kind of that community, that support, and got into marathons through that and really loved it because I was like, wow, I'm slow and I can run a long distance and be good at it. So that's kind of what inspired me to not feel like I had to be fast to do like a fast 5K or a fast 10K. The distance, I could run slower and still feel like I was good at something mentally, not saying that you're not if you're not fast, if that makes sense. So I don't want the wrong message to get out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that inspired me to do my first marathon. And it was in San Francisco. I chose, probably one of the hilliest courses you could run
Yeah.
for my first marathon. Didn't fully train for it, but still ran it. And kind of just from there got addicted to it. I got into triathlon shortly after that with cycling from a stress fracture. Stayed with Team in Training, do a 100-mile bike ride around Lake Tahoe, fundraising for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society because I was a cancer survivor. Even though I had ovarian cancer, it was still, I wanted to raise funds and kind of bring awareness and be a part of something with that. And then I got into triathlons after that and signed up for a half Ironman in 2009 to commemorate 5 years cancer-free. Ended up having a relapse and still did the race, even though I was sick again. Don't recommend that. And then from there was like, well, they told me I'd never do a full Ironman, so let's sign up. And I signed up for my first full Ironman to do in 2010. So I was kind of
Wow.
one of those, if my doctor told me I can't do something, I'm like, okay, well, here, hold my beer and I'm going to go do it. So,
I
I
love it.
I'm curious because you mentioned that your dad was a sprinter. So how did you find yourself like in the endurance scene? Was it kind of like the trauma of kind of the things that you have gone through with like your medical history and things like that that kind of like I don't know,
that's a good
brought you like into that like world of endurance? Like why was it never like mid distance, like 5K, 10K? Like I'm so curious about that.
I think it's because I felt like I could, with the distance, running slow made me feel like I was good at something.
Yes.
Whereas, like, I didn't like to run fast. And I felt like with a 5K or a 10K, I would want to try to compete and be fast like my dad was. For me
Okay.
personally, I know you don't have to run them fast, but um, me at the time mentally felt like, well, I'm not fast. I don't want to sprint. I don't want to give it all out. I don't know how to train that way. I that's a good I never really thought about that. I saw that my uncle did a full marathon. I'm like, oh, well, that looks challenging. Let me do it. If he can, I can kind of deal. And it just kind of fell into it and fell in love with the distance. And that's where I kind of grew into the ultra distance and wanted to continue doing more challenging things, and maybe at the time it was some of the trauma, being bullied as a kid. It was an outlet at the time that I didn't realize mentally. I can, looking back now, I could probably say, yeah, maybe I was doing that as my trauma release and not even realizing it, because I don't think mental health was really a big factor back then. And it was a different world. You didn't have the social media. Yes, I'm old. Um, and
Hey,
the,
right
the
there with
the
you.
reels and we had MySpace, I think, maybe
We
for a
had
short period
MySpace,
of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
shortly.
So
Yeah.
it was just a different time. So I think it wasn't as, realizing and recognizing. Now I can fully say endurance sports is my therapy. Even though I went to therapy, like, it's now my continued therapy.
hmm Definitely. Do you think that when you were bullied, did that have overlap with like when you were doing track and then because you quit, like do you think that it shaped how you approach sports? Is that why you would start something and then quit? Do you think that that's a big part of it or
I
was it
think
more
so.
personal? Yeah.
Looking back now, going through a very big healing process over the past few years, I'll say the past life of me being an athlete, I was doing it to overcompensate for what I didn't have in a way. Because I was bullied, I wanted to find a way to fit in, and I felt like that was a way for me to fit in, to try to be cool, to get people to like me. And I would join teams, and I mean, I'm thankful for sponsors and things that I had, but looking back, I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. I was doing it because I wanted to feel like I belonged, because I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. Being bullied, I was always the one left out. I was always the last to be picked on the team. I was the one never really invited to things. And then in my 20s, I was a single mom, so I also kind of was, not always invited to things because my kid came first. I wasn't getting babysitters, and when you don't go to things, people stop inviting you. So I think I used it as a crutch to overcompensate. Um, for the bullying and just kind of feeling left out all the time. It made me feel like I belonged.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I That's one of the wonderful things about running and endurance sport is it's very much something that you can have control over that other people don't get a say of your participation level and your how good you're going to get at it because it's completely up to you. So I can definitely see the draw there, even if it was subconscious. That's how you got tied to it.
Well, and
Yeah.
even I think when I saw the bullying in the sport, and the reason I got out of triathlons in 2015 is, I had the opportunity to race in Germany and do a full iron distance there. And I wanted to take my daughter with me because she, being the single mom, was the one enduring staying at my parents' house while I did 6-hour bike rides and stuff. So I wanted to take her and give her that experience. Being a single mom, having been laid off a year prior to that, having gone through cancer, never having asked for help, I decided to do a GoFundMe to take her. Like, I told my story, I had cancer, I got laid off, I'm working, I can go. I want to take my daughter. Here's that. Prayed
Mhm.
about it, felt good about it. It was it was hard. The things people said about the fact that I did that I was asking for a handout for a luxury vacation. Um, I was on a team and I was doing okay. Like, I would do a race and by default would age up in my age group because other people got pulled to overall wins or whatever. And so, I never bragged about things, but like, hey, I ended up first in my age group, but there was
Yeah.
literally 2 of us and the other one got overall. Well, you didn't deserve that. You didn't earn that. You shouldn't be saying things like that. You shouldn't be going to Roth. You shouldn't be on the team. You're not fast. You don't podium, things like that. Like it just, and I realized, wow. And even the team that I raced on, a lot of people just really disconnected and distanced themselves from me for doing that. Like other people wanted to go to Roth. I'm like, well, they put their names in the hat too. Like
Mhm.
if they didn't put their name in the hat, that's not my fault. I
Mhm.
knew that I could go, and that's why I put my name in the hat. I wanted to take my daughter. And then at the time, my boyfriend at the time, was like, I'll go to watch her. So I'll pay my own way. He wasn't a part of any of it. And I made it very clear, this is for my daughter. Like, here's what we're asking. Here's how much it potentially will cost. And I mean, I did raise the money and I'm thankful for the support that I had, but I really got to see the true colors of some of the egos in the sport. And it really discouraged me. So I got out of the sport and that's when I got into ultra running and started training for my first 50K and found a whole new community of people who, like, during my 100-mile race, I had a blister. I couldn't get my shoe on. So they literally took their running Luna sandals off their feet and said, here, if they fit, you put them on. And I did a loop with somebody else's shoes on because they don't care. It's all about helping and being supportive. So
Yeah. I think
Wow.
there's a powerful message with talking about that because I mean, I experienced a little bit of that moving into a new community and having that kind of isolation, so to speak. It's unfortunate because a lot of times that speaks more about the person that does that to you versus yourself. I wouldn't say that you didn't earn anything. Like, I think that's kind of crazy to jump to conclusions like that. Like, and asking for help and putting yourself out there, like, why would you not? Like, I feel
right.
like at any caliber or level of a sport, like, if you don't ask, it'll always be
You
no,
don't
right?
know. Yeah.
It'll always the
That's
answer will always be no, that the
yeah.
opportunity will never be there. So it's like, for me, I'm like, why would you not? So I think that
Well,
speaks a lot about your confidence and your desire and your dreams and your ambitions to go after it despite having backlash and despite having people naysayers and things like that. I think that's why you're where you're
yeah.
at right now, because you've always been your biggest advocate, your biggest voice for yourself. And I think anybody that's going through that process right now with feeling excluded from the community, and thankfully I think it's come a long way. And I do believe that there is more good in the sport than there is negative in the sport. It's
Mhm.
just finding your table, your community, right?
And it's learning that, like for me, I race because I have a story. I race because I want to inspire people.
Yeah.
Literally between cancer, pulmonary embolism, heart failure, I shouldn't be racing. I should be down, I should be depressed. Like, on paper, most would be like, how are you still here? Like,
Yes.
mentally. And even then I raced as a cancer survivor. Now I race for so much more. Like, I want to prove, like, not prove to people, but inspire people
Mhm.
that, there's going to be people that are mean in the sport. Who cares? You're doing
Mhm.
something and you're inspiring someone. And that's, this past year and a half, that healing process, I really learned, like, at the end of the day, then I had a story. I raced as a cancer survivor. Now I race for so much more. And while I still follow some of them, I'm happier. I feel like, I don't feel like I'm having to, like, make up for anything now. Like, it was scary getting back into the sport because it opened a lot of those old wounds. Like, should I do this? Am I going to deal with that again? And at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? I'm too old to worry about it. I want
Mhm.
to get the person who, is struggling with postpartum depression and doesn't think they're going to find themselves again out of mom life to know they can. It might be dark right now. It might suck right now. Embrace it, but know that it's not the end of the story. Like, you can rewrite it. And that's where I'm at. Sorry. So I don't want to.
No, it bleeds into that question where it says, "What did running give you that other parts of life could not during those early years?" Like, I sit here and I think about, I have an older boy, my oldest boy. He's very much like this. He's very intuitive of people around him, what they
Mhm.
think, how they feel about him, and I can't tell you how many times, like, this little boy, he has talked about flag football since I can remember. He was like 2, and it's funny because he's like my bookworm. He's like my very intelligent boy, and so sports don't come very naturally to him, whereas, like, I have a few other kids that it's very ingrained in who they are. But it doesn't mean that he can't try it, right? And so I've tried to put this kid in flag football for a few years, and we started with soccer. That did not go well. And I asked him. I was like, "What intimidates you? Like, you have this desire. You've told me multiple times. It's not me pushing on you. Like, you've said that you wanted to do it. Why are you not giving it a shot?" He's like, "Well, I'm not good at it." I'm like, "But you've never tried. Like, you can't be good at something you've never tried. And how do you know if you're not good at it if you've never tried it?" And so I love the message that you're showing because, I mean, think about it. Not only your kids, but people around you that, like, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about you. If you're not going to put yourself out there and give yourself a shot, then you'll never know. And I
Right.
think that's what, like, running has given you. And it's giving you this sense of, like, perspective of who you are, the grit, the determination behind you, the drive of saying, no, I'm not going to take a no for an answer. Like, I think it's really built up who you are and your character. And because of that, because you've leaned into that and allowed that to be an opportunity to shape who you are now you are inspiring other people. You're doing exactly what your whole mission is all about while you're in the sport. And I think it's such a full circle moment for you, because I don't even think you realize that just by you putting yourself out there and showing up at these start lines, when people are like, well, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve to experience that, you don't, and you continue to keep doing it anyways, you are, in fact, in return, inspiring other people to do the same thing and be an advocate for themselves. And I have full chills. Like, I cannot say that enough right now. Like, I'm in awe of you, and it inspires me to chase my goals at the caliber running that I am. And I think that's the beautiful part about this sport, and what it does is that it doesn't matter. Time, I mean, Olivia talked about that. Time is so irrelevant here. Like, at the end of the day, like, I am inspired by those people that run their first marathon at 8 hours. Like, I think I'm honestly more inspired by those people that are out there on a Saturday having to pencil out 3, 4, 5 hours out of their day to make their training fit versus the person that's running 2.5 hours. That's totally different commitment level to me. I'm like, they are up at the butt crack of dawn earlier than I am, and they're having to feel differently, and they're having to be on their feet longer and do that over and over and over again. That's inspiring. And so I think, like, that's what's so cool about this story is that it's not about the time. It's about the fact of, like, that we can all get out there and put ourselves in uncomfortable positions and grow ourselves through that process.
Yeah, it's not your setback or your hurdle or whatever you're facing. I mean, obviously be smart, and you do have to listen to your doctors. I do have to say that because I didn't, and I was in the hospital a few times. But at the same time, like, I just remember when I had heart failure with my now or soon to be 9-year-old. It was funny because my cardiologist, when I was in the hospital, I was in the ICU, it was Christmas, and he was like, well, you probably won't be running marathons anymore. And I looked at him, I said, well, it's a good thing I don't run marathons then. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I run ultras, so it's all good, like, trying to have humor with it. And he looked at me like I had 3 heads, but also didn't really know how to treat me because I was an endurance athlete. I didn't meet the demographics for what you usually see in postpartum cardiomyopathy, and kind of, like, what is this? And even with when my cancer came back 2 years ago, I finally had the total hysterectomy, and it was routine. Everything was great. A week later, I had 2 pulmonary embolisms, and I went back into the hospital, and they're like, you shouldn't be here. Like, with the heart failure, I shouldn't have made it through the night. And I did. With the embolisms, like, I've told people, and they're like, I know people who died from those. I was like, I have a purpose, and I want to use that purpose, which is why I share my story. I've learned to be okay with, like, hey, I'm that mom who's socially awkward, but I'm running because of XYZ, and list it all out. And, it might sound like a broken record, but I want to know that somebody reads that and says, you know what? I can do this even if I have a bad day. Like I said, like, it might suck, and it's dark, but there's still light at that end of the tunnel, or whatever, however you want to preface it. Like, and it ties into why I want to write a book. I want to use it to inspire people, what that looks like. I'm not a writer, but I'm figuring it out. And, and, like, kind of circling, I ramble, but with your pregnancy, it's inspiring because when I found out, I was training for my first 100-mile race, Born to Run out in California. And 2 weeks before the race, I remember doing a 50K, felt great. The pickles were delicious. I was like, those were the best pickles ever, and I had a great 50K, got done. 2 weeks before the race, I'm tapering, and I'm like, why am I so angry? Like, taper just started. I remember arguing with my husband, and I was like, well, let me just take a test. Let me just see. There's no way. But I don't think I started, but I'm also training. Sure enough, popped positive. I'm like, oh, crap. So, I called my doctor and I was like, hey, I'm maybe 5 weeks right now, 6 weeks. They're like, okay, well, it's early. I was like, well, I'm running a race in a couple weeks. Oh, you've been running, you're good. I was like, well, it's 100 miles. She's like, hold on, let me ask the doctor. And because I had been training for so long, my body was conditioned for it. And I love that you're bringing awareness to it. They're like, listen to your body, be smart about it. And so I did. I did Born to Run, 100-mile race. 9 weeks pregnant. So we called her baby Hundo. And, it's like I took a picture. I remember while on the course at one point, I'd have to find it. And I don't know. It just, I was like,
that.
your setbacks, not that pregnancy is not a setback, but whatever it is that your body's going through, whether it's a setback or you found out you're pregnant, so your goals might change, it shouldn't stop you. Like you can, and you probably will crush your goal bigger than what you think. So, anyways, I hope that made sense. I was trying to circle back.
Listen.
Words of wisdom from an old lady.
If you could do 100 miles 9 weeks pregnant, I could do 26.2 miles, okay? When I remember you messaging me that, because I was like, hey, I need some mamas to come into my DMs and tell me all about their pregnancy training. And you rolled in and I was like, who are you? Who does 100-miler alone? Like, I still, my brain can't physically wrap around the thought of somebody wanting to run 100 miles in one go. And then on top of that, you were pregnant and you were in first trimester.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Like, I don't need to hear any other stories. Like, that's enough of a motivation for me to be quiet, get out there, and just show up.
If I can inspire. Nope, that was my doctor was impressed. They were like, you really did that? I said, I used to have the belt buckle. I was like, here's the belt buckle. Yep, I did it. I got to meet Chris McCormick. It was great.
That's
like,
so cool.
Yeah, I loved it. So maybe do
Well,
another 100. We'll see.
What do you have any advice for moms that are, wanting to pursue that level of racing or any kind of racing, but are afraid to do it while they're pregnant? I think that a lot of people fear running at any intensity, let alone racing intensity, while they're pregnant. Is there any advice that you have, or was there like a mental hurdle that you were able to overcome or that you could share wisdom about?
I think it's really listening to your body, knowing like it's not if you obviously don't start. If you haven't been running and you're pregnant and you don't want to start. But if you've been running, you've been training like Shanna, your body's conditioned for it. I'm not a medical expert, but at the end of the day, you have to be in tune with your body and don't look at it. For me, like when I went into it, running 100 miles, while it's a race, I wasn't racing it. It's out there to have fun, to get the miles in. It's going to suck. It's going to hurt. But, walk if you have to walk. I remember being 32 weeks pregnant running a trail race. It was a half marathon. And, the biggest thing when I crossed the finish line is she didn't go into labor. And, like I had Braxton Hicks. There was a few times like I had to stop and sit and realize, okay, I probably should stop like doing the longer distances and kind of keep it, at some point you do have to slow down and allow your body to start preparing for, delivery and the growth of the baby and everything changing and all your organs getting smushed. But just, don't let it be an excuse as to why you can't do something if you've been training for it. Just adjust and keep going. I hope that's advice.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think there's a lot of fear around doing things pregnant, and rightfully so. There has been so many, we've had an episode about it, about myths that are out there and are still out there. And some of them seem very, very old school, And so when you were pregnant and like training for this, did you outsource? Like, were you trying to find other people that had run pregnant or anything like that? Or were you kind of just doing this blindly?
I just kind of did it blindly. Like, this was 9 years ago. I was on social media, but not super active. I had running friends around here that would run with me. I always made sure that I was with somebody. I never really ran by myself, just in case. There were a few runs where I had tripped on the trails and fell, and it's like, okay, we need to go get checked out because, the hazards of being clumsy on the trails is, not fun. But you know, I kind of just did it blindly and listened to my body. And, if I needed to call my doctor because something fell off, I would get it checked out and go that route. But I didn't let it, I don't know. I didn't let it hold me back. And I didn't let the fear mongering of you can't do this, you can't do that stop me, because I just kind of put it off in a corner like, nope, that's what you think, but I know my body. So I hope that
That's
answered the question.
Yeah, it did.
So
So take us back. Your first pregnancy, that is how you discovered cancer your first time?
I was diagnosed. So I had my daughter 2003. Didn't know that I had the cancer. It wasn't until she was 9 months old. So had a lump in my side, could feel it. They thought it was an ovarian cyst. I remember going in May, specifically, it was like 3 centimeters. They put me on a different birth control. June, it had grown to 6 centimeters, wanted to do a stronger birth control, thinking again, it's just a cyst, no cancer in my family, no family history. Fast forward to August, I was supposed to go back for a checkup. August, September timeframe, missed the appointment. I just remember in October, something told me like, hey, I need to make that appointment. So I did. It had grown to 9 centimeters. At this point, they're like, it's too large to rupture. You could get septic. We need to remove the cyst. All my tumor markers, blood work was normal. There was there was maybe one thing on the ultrasound that looked a little abnormal, but there was no cause for concern. And I just remember going in, having surgery October 22nd, and then going back in for my post-op, and the doctor having my friend who was with me come into the room and tell me that it was cancer. It was ovarian cancer, a rare type that occurred in 1% of women over the age of 30. I was 19. I didn't know what to think about it. I remember leaving a voicemail for my mom saying that the doctor told me I had cancer. She's in the healthcare field and a nurse, and was not the right thing to do. So don't ever leave that as a voicemail. Um, and then it kind of created a black hole. Like I immediately had a second surgery to remove my ovary. I called a live autopsy. They wanted to check everything. They said they would leave the right side if it looked good. But if anything looked abnormal, they would do a full hysterectomy. So at 19, I went in not knowing if I'd come out in menopause or still have, some of the ovary in my uterus and everything. So everything looked fine. They had caught it early enough to where I was thankful to not have to go into anything super invasive either. So it was encapsulated. It was the size of an ostrich egg. But it's an area where I don't remember my daughter's first Thanksgiving because I had surgery the day before, her first birthday, her first Christmas. I see pictures and I'm like, I see a ghost because it was just, it happened so fast and it was just so much at one time that it was hard to process. And that's, and from there kind of got into I was depressed for a few years. And then, like I said, my uncle did his marathon. My dad was a runner. I was like, oh, I can do this. Let's go. And that's when things shifted. And I was like, okay, I want to inspire people to keep going.
I love that. So you were already a mother when you had run your first marathon?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That
So
is so cool.
it did not inspire her to be a runner.
Oh my gosh. That's
So
wild.
I tried, but
Yeah.
no, it did not inspire her to be a runner.
That is okay. I feel like that's how a lot of parents are. They're
Yeah.
like, she didn't want to run or they didn't want to run. That's incredible though. So, I mean, it's hard enough being postpartum, right? Like I was just reading some just statistics on the hormone dump that we basically have after we have babies. So, yeah, I can't even imagine like trying to be a mother and meet this new little person and then having to deal with it's not just a health scare, it's like the health scare.
Yeah.
It's like the biggest health scare that you could possibly have, and to be dealing with that while you're postpartum is just
Yeah, I don't remember, and
Mhm.
then now I have a 3, 4, and 8-year-old. Even with them, with my daughter who's 8, so I had her natural birth with medication. Everything was fine, ran that whole pregnancy, like I said, I ran the 150
Mhm.
Ks all the way up to 32 weeks, and I remember coming home still feeling like I had a lot of fluid on me. They're like, oh, we induced you. You're pumped full of IVs, just stay hydrated. I had a headache the next morning. And that's why I went back into the emergency room, is for a headache. I thought maybe spinal fluid was because it's right at the back of my neck. And so I went in, my mom's a nurse. She's like, get it checked out. Next thing I know, I'm being rushed to the ICU. My heart function was at 15%. They didn't know if I'd make it through the night. So it was one of those, like, here I just had a baby 3 days old. My other daughter was about to turn 13. It was right before Christmas. And everything just got flipped upside down. I was in the hospital for a week. So I missed that, I had to stop breastfeeding immediately. My mom and my dad took care of Amelia, my 8-year-old, and didn't know how to manage that postpartum. And I didn't realize until recently how much postpartum depression I had, because I was fighting something else.
Mhm.
And yeah, sorry, I'm gonna get emotional.
That's totally
It's
fine.
because it took it away. And then even with my son, I had an emergency C-section at 32 weeks because I had 46 centimeters of fluid. So I know what it feels like to carry triplets. No explanation as to why. Ended up having chromium amniotic separation, where the placenta and the amniotic sacs start separating, which is, fused together while everything's growing, which is dangerous. And I remember he flipped transverse during induction. It was like 12 hours in, and they told me if my water broke, both him and I would die because of that separation. And so I got rushed down, emergency C-section, had no idea what was going on, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, and it was just, again, one thing after another. He had complications, didn't know if he needed surgery, didn't know if I was going to go back into heart failure because I was high risk from the heart failure previously. Um, my right lobe was enlarged. He had fluid on his kidneys, and then he was jaundiced. It was a lot. So we were in the hospital for a week. So again, all this trauma, didn't get to process postpartum. Because I remember then at 8 months postpartum, when I found out I was pregnant again, I was just done. I was like, wait, what? How does this happen? One, I have an ovary. I don't have two. Um, we called it the super ovary, not to be weird. But I was in denial, because I'm like, there's women out there that try and go through to get pregnant and can't. And here I am, just popping out babies. Like, I love it. I'm thankful. I was told I wouldn't have more. I thought I'd only have my oldest. God blessed me with 3 more blessings. But I had so much denial with her pregnancy. We didn't tell anybody except for family. Like, I didn't post on social media. I didn't have the baby. Like, I didn't get to experience that pregnancy like a normal pregnancy, because I was like, I don't want to tell anybody, because everybody's telling me, don't have more babies. You almost died. Like, so you hear that noise, don't have babies, you're going to die. And then it's like, I'm not mentally ready for another baby, so how do you manage? And it wasn't until closer to her birth that I was like, okay, we can do this. Now I'm just not going to tell anybody, because I haven't told anybody. And then when I
Well,
did tell everybody, it shocked everybody. And I was like, what? You have
you're like,
another?
here she is.
What happened?
I think because you were robbed of your postpartum experiences, you were robbed of the baby magic and the bliss and all of that. And I think that because your body was in poor health, that your the expression that you got was you got healthy babies out of it. And that was the version that you were going to present to the world, basically. And I always believe in balance. Like, not everything can be bad. And so
Right.
even though your body it wasn't healthy and it wasn't able to stay healthy and sustain itself, it was able to sustain the babies, and that they were just an expression on the outside of that. And I think that totally makes sense, especially, because it must be hard seeing like other people get to experience those wonderful postpartum days, and you're like, I was in the ICU, I didn't even get to breastfeed. Like, that would be so hard mentally to deal with, but then you're also just trying to hang on and, stay present for the smallest thing. And
It
like,
taught me with my last, I became very much a big advocate of fed is best, because I realized I lost myself more with my son. I felt like I had to force myself to breastfeed because I couldn't with my daughter. Um, and then he had troubles with that. And so with Olivia, my last, my husband and I, we agreed I would try. If it was difficult, I would stop. And it was one of the best decisions I made mentally because he was able to get up and help feed her at,
Mhm.
3 o'clock in the morning. Cause I had a planned C-section and recovery was a little bit harder on that one. And it was just one of those like, now I want to advocate for postpartum depression because
I
holy
love
cow,
that.
this is real. It does
Yeah.
exist, whether it's from 5 years ago. Like I was still dealing with postpartum depression from, my oldest is 21 now. And it's like there's no time frame on it. They say, oh, within a year or two you're healed. I'm like, maybe hormonal slightly, but mentally and traumatically, no, because if you suppress all that, it's still there. It's not gone. It doesn't just disappear. Your body holds on to it. And so I've really wanted to become that advocate to say, hey, postpartum depression is real. You can find yourself again in motherhood. It is dark and it does suck. I want to be real about it. I don't want to fluff it, but it's not the end. And that's why I kind of go back to like you can rewrite your story and still come out of it and find yourself. And it is okay to be selfish. Like I'm training for a full Ironman, which is going to take more than 5 hours of training a week, but talking with my husband and saying like I need to find me to be happy for my kids and I am a better mom because I'm able to go out for a run or go out on a 3-hour bike ride, which might sound selfish and crazy, but it's really not, because now I'm in a mentally healthy, stable place to then deal with my kids and their lovely attitudes that they sometimes have.
Yeah.
Like, how do
Yeah.
I say this? The
Yeah.
chaos. Yeah.
I mean, from postpartum, you were in survival mode. Like
Yes.
that's, it was complete survival mode constantly. And so I think for you, you've had to just reshape and reshift of that you can it I don't know if you call it like your comeback seasons after each baby, but you've had that and
Yeah.
you've been able to reshape what that looks like for you.
Yeah.
It is, and this is my comeback. Like, I turned 40 this year. I'm like, I wanna make an epic comeback, and I did. I signed up for a half Ironman, and I did that, and I wanna take it further. I signed up for a full Ironman, and my big goal is Kona World Championship. I wanna share my story. That's why I wear, anything is possible. It's not about being fast and being the best, but it's about overcoming and showing people, like, you're going to have tough seasons. It's a part of life, but it's not the end of the story for that season. It is just that, a season. Not to get all philosophical, but like fall, the leaves fall and I don't know what the saying is, but like every season changes. And once you get through that season, you can have a new season and you get to define that. Even if you're still dealing with setbacks, you just have to kind of don't suppress them, embrace them and grow through that season. And that's why, like, when I do my full, do I want to do really well and try to qualify? Absolutely. Do I want to send my story in? Absolutely. Whether I get there through the story and maybe get backlash for it, I'm okay with that now, because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, it is to help show people that anything is possible and you can do this.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, that's the whole point why they have those entries. Like, why would you not use that?
Well,
It comes back to the fact that like people are just jealous. Like at the end of the day, if you get that, like I call that, you could call it whatever you want. You call it God divine. You can call that in like the universe on your side, like whatever it is that your belief system is. Like I mean, people have to have wins in life too. And I
yeah.
think oftentimes, like, we got to take a step back. Like, I think hearing your story, like, my mind is going through all these things. Like, you had your first pregnancy where you ran most of your pregnancy. And then I look at your pregnancies after that and just how rough and brutal and all the tumultuous storms you had to go through. And I think about the people that probably saw you in your first pregnancy running that 9 weeks, 100 miler or whatever. And I know you didn't really share very much about like you being pregnant, things like that. But I can only imagine through that process that like people are like, wow, like I could never do that in my pregnancy. And I think a lot of people do that
I think
comparison game a
they
lot
do.
in pregnancy. Like I get that a lot even within my own story. And I'm like, I was not doing this in my last 5 pregnancies. You're
Yeah.
seeing me in my current situation, but you didn't see Shanna through the last 6 kids.
Right.
And so I think, what's really cool, like, I'm so curious, like, at what point or what was it that, like, changed you from that survival mode of, like, just trying to endure through all these storms and all these ups and downs and all these unknowns and all these uncertainties to, like, I'm making my comeback now? Like, where did that switch in your mind? Like
I think going back to my first being a young mom, dealing with the cancer, then getting into running, and then all the storms that kind of like one thing after another. I mean, even to talk like not that we were, but like even with my wedding and my friend who married me, like his passing right after my honeymoon was spent in the ICU with him as he passed. Like I got to a point looking back at all that and with the pulmonary embolisms kind of being that like, holy cow, I could have died again. How
Mm-hmm.
many more times? Like, what is my purpose? Feeling very angry. I'm very strong in my faith, but feeling angry at the same time. Like, why? What happened? What did I do? What king did I kill in a past life? I just going into menopause, I spent a year post hysterectomy just depressed, gained weight. I was 185, 190 pounds. No lie. Like when I say I've lost 80 pounds, some people are like, holy cow. It's like, well, you didn't see me before all of
Yeah.
this, right? Um, I got to a point where I was so angry and disappointed in who I was becoming because I knew that wasn't who I am. I'm like, this isn't me. I used to race because I was a cancer survivor to inspire people. I was the person, like, I still keep in touch with a friend from my past Ironman days who I met at a full iron distance race who was struggling for his first, and I stopped and I ran. I was like, let's get you to the finish line. I didn't care about my time at that point. I stayed with them. And at that last mile said, this is your first full distance. You go to that finish line and finish. And then I came in behind. Like I sacrificed my race because that's what I did. Like I wanted to help people get to the finish line to finish. You started this, you're going to finish it. It's going to hurt, but you're going to do it. And I'm like, I didn't recognize myself. I'd look in the mirror and be like, I don't know who this is. My kids called me, is it Monster Mommy Day? And I'm like, I'm not a monster. Like, I'm thankful my husband loves me enough to not have divorced me because I would have divorced me probably 5 different times. Like, I just, something, I can't say exactly what it was. I just realized how unhappy I was, how angry I felt, how ghostly I seemed. Like, who is this person that I just finally shut down? And I was like, I'm going to go, I'm going to get the help that I need. And I got into therapy. I talked with my doctor. I got on the right mental health medication that I needed to help what my body needed. Because I was a big advocate on supplements and learning and being humbled through my own nutrition background that medication is sometimes a tool that's needed. And I got off social media this past year completely. Like, I mean, I'd post periodically here and there, but just like, I can't. I need to focus on me and become selfish and find me again. And that's what I did. And I've lost 80 pounds doing it. I've got back to running and racing. And, and now I'm at that place where it's like, I wear the bracelet that says, let them judge me, let them say whatever, like, let the bullies do what they need to do. And I say that to like, with the whole Kona and things, like even I see comments about Boston and charity. Like, I would love to run Boston. Do I want to qualify? I want to work hard to try to do it, but I'm not against taking a charity slot to get there because Boston is iconic, but it's something I want to run to show people like, you don't have to be fast to do the sport. You don't have to be elite to do this sport. And the people that tell you that do it have their own issues that they need to work on, not to sound harsh. But like, let them judge you. Let them take that charity slot and let them judge you because at the end of the day, you're doing this for you. And you can't let that comparison, you can't lose yourself in that because I did. I completely lost myself in the bullies. I lost myself in the trauma and I lost myself in just the darkness, the depression and the rage that I carried. And that's not who, not to be faith, like, that's not who God created us to be. Like, the storm's there, weather it, and now use that storm to help the next person. So anyways, I
Yeah.
feel like that was
No, you're
not to preach, but
No, it's
that's what it feels like and that's for me, for my story is like, I do feel like God gave me a purpose
Yep.
by keeping me here through all of this to then now use it to hopefully share and get my story out there for the world to hear, whether it's a small community on Instagram as I rebuild and try to reconnect. Because it's been lonely when you take a year sabbatical from everything in life. It is a very lonely journey, but you can rebuild and reconnect. And now I want to do that and say, hey, you got this. You can do it. Don't be scared. Sign up for that race. Let's do this. I'll do it with you.
Exactly. It's hard. I think people will judge no matter what. If you're thriving, people are going to be like, well, they have it so easy. They must have tons of childcare. And if you're struggling, then it's like, well, why don't they just ask for help? And it's like, I think People will judge no matter what. I've had people recently that I don't know why they're like sending me my own stories back and responding to me. And I think it's for like a friend. Like they're trying to send my story to a friend. And I'm like, hey, I know this wasn't meant for me, but it was like, it was something about me being so busy. I thought it was so busy, but I have one child in school. And it's like,
Stop.
what are you going to say when both of my kids are in school? Am I supposed to go work full time from the hours of 9 to 3 or something? Like, people will judge no matter what. Like, what if I had the most like beautiful life, but I still chose to put my running life out there, like my running journey out there, that somebody would be mad about something. And so with you, say you didn't share any of your health journey that you've had or your motherhood, and you just put your Ironman journey out there, somebody would be mad about something. And at the end of the day, that's always a reflection on them. And like, it's not a reflection on you. And I used to have a very hard time just like laughing it off. And I'd be like, why would somebody say something like that? And the why is always because they have a problem. Like, that's it. That's their problem. And it's usually stemmed from jealousy. And, you say like, that's not why God put us there. And it's true. We watch our children, like negative thoughts, they are learned behaviors. And because our children don't act like that. Like if a friend was like, hey, I did this, then the other friend would be like, that's so cool. Was it awesome? And that's it. That's it. Their conversations are so simple. And I wish we were more like that, because we should be. It should be more supportive. It should be like, well, tell me everything. I want to know, instead of being like, well, why would you do that?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I get it still, like, oh, you're traveling, then why are you training? You were gone all week and you're going out for a 2-hour run. I'm like, yeah, because that's what I need now to decompress, to be there for my kids.
Yes. You're also an adult. If you wanted to sit down and eat ice cream for dinner, that's like all we ever wanted to do. You're allowed to do it. Like, you are fully allowed to do that. So you're
I'm
allowed
not, and I get like, oh, you're not home with your kids. And I'm like, I'm a better mom because I work. Like, I love my kids, but I know 100% that I was not put on this earth to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, I love them. I really do. I just don't have the patience for them to entertain them all day. That is for me, and I love what I do for work. And on top of work, I'm allowed to have my own like personal hobbies. And then, my kids, I'm not missing out. I missed out when I had the trauma and was in the hospital, but now, like, I'm not missing out. I'm at my daughter's cheer competitions and, T-ball for my son, and it's a balance,
It is.
Kids are very resilient too. And one thing that I personally can attest for growing up and seeing my own parents do their things, and I'm sure all of us can here, you can sense when your parents feel satisfied and fulfilled in their parenthood and when they don't. And I think that, to me, plays a bigger impact on your child's life and their perception of life and their self-worth versus your mom being a workaholic, like work at work or whatever. Like, I feel like if you come home and you are happy and you feel fulfilled and you feel joy, your kid's gonna feel that too. They're gonna sense those. I mean, you talked about it, like, am I gonna have monster mom or whatever, or am I gonna have happy mom? My kids have had that. I have my 3-year-old. She comes up to me sometimes, and I was in the kitchen, and I call it RBF face, resting bitch face, and sometimes I do have that because I'm just like, it's stoic unless I'm like smiling. And anyways, I was in the kitchen. My little girl, she came up to me and she was like, Mom, are you grumpy? And I was like, what? I was like, no. I was like, I'm totally fine. But I thought it was so cute that she could even recognize by my facial expression that, like, I didn't look happy, but I also didn't look mad. And she had that question posed, trying to figure out what was I, And it was the cutest thing. And so we got to kind of like joke around about it for a second. Aww. And I mean, we read this book. It's called The Grumpy Monkey. And that's why she had asked me. She was like, Mom, are you grumpy? But it was cool because I had it dawned on me. I was like, my kids, they see my emotions. They feel my emotions. And so at the end of the day, it's the 2 hours that I run in the morning or the race that I drag all my family to in a couple weeks. Like, they don't, that doesn't bother them. It's who I'm showing up as on a daily basis. And do I look happy? Do I look fulfilled? Do I want to be around them? And I think that's what's most important. It's not what that looks like under your roof. It doesn't have to look a certain way. I think
Right.
everybody's journey is so different. I went through seasons where I worked. I was on night CNA. Like I was sleep deprived raising my
Yeah.
children. And I'm like, that quality of life though, that it was needed for us financially, that quality of life was not good for my kids, you know?
Right.
And so I think that the fact that you are recognizing that you are in a better state mentally and physically when you are able to have that little bit of separation from your children. I say a little bit because we are with our kids a lot. Even if you're a working mom, we
Yes.
are with our kids a lot. And I think that's great. Like, I think that's a beautiful message for other moms that are out there who probably carry that guilt because they do work or
Mhm.
because they do need medication or because they do need therapy. Like, I think it's so awesome that you're advocating for all of these resources and tools and hobbies to help you cope with those emotions versus doing it in an unhealthy way where you're lashing out on your kids all the time,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes, and you're also allowed to live a full life. Like,
Yes.
you are allowed, if you are career driven, you're allowed to do that. You do not have to take a step back. And I mean, even listen to our Everyday Hero shout out. Like, you do, when you stop working, you go through an identity shift. And there is like a big moment. Like, I stopped working for my son, and it was like, would it be better if I worked? Because then he could, he could be like, well, my mom does this. And I will say, like, it still goes through my head all the time because he talks about when I did work and he was in my tummy, and I was like, it's like, does
That's
he
funny.
want me to work so he has something to brag about? But I will say also, I imagine coming home from work and then having to be a mom is
Mhm.
extremely overwhelming because I notice it even if I was like at an appointment for a couple of hours and then I come home and they're just like, Mom, 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 Mom. I'm like, whoa, I just got back. And it's so much harder to actually be away from them in that sense, because the overwhelming, like, it's like a wave that comes over you where you're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I have to be a very different person than I've been the whole other part of the day. And I watch my husband deal with it when he comes home
Mhm.
from work. And so it's like, it's again, there's not a perfect way to do it. It's whatever works best for you. But you, in your case, you're allowed to live a full life. You have been
Mhm.
through enough that no matter what choice you make that fulfills you, you can say, I deserve this. I do. Yeah, like whether it was one cancer diagnosis or four, if you have one child or four, like you are allowed to say, I get to do
Yeah.
this. I've been through enough shit, you know?
No, I
You
I
deserve
agree, and I
that.
think as a mom, like, yeah, you're a mom, but you're not just a mom just because you
Yes.
had a baby or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. Like,
Mhm.
you're still a human being. Like, you have you have wants and needs, I guess you could say, and that's where,
Mhm.
like, the running and it's not selfish, and you should take time for yourself. It's actually very healthy to take time for yourself.
And,
Um,
like, who put that stipulation out there? Like, who said, "This is what moms look like." They have to dedicate their whole lives once they become a mom to this human being every waking second. Like, who who decided that, like, we were supposed to just stop being individuals? Like,
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, where the heck that came
I
from
I wish
because
I knew, but I feel like me doing this and going back to my race this past Saturday, like my husband brought my kids down. They've never really seen me run or been to a race, but they were there and they enjoyed it. Like my son was like, "Run fast like Sonic," because they think I'm super speedy and I love it. It's
Yeah.
funny. Like when I go out for a run, they're like, "Where are you going?" And I'll make jokes like, "Oh, I'm running to the moon." "Did you run to the moon, Mom?" I was like, "I ran to the moon." Like they make it fun. And then now I see them, "Look, Mommy, I can run fast like you." And they'll like
Cute.
sprint through the house. And I think it creates that healthy individual, like, um I don't know what the word is. I just totally lost it. I'm ADHD and my squirrels just went somewhere. But it shows them that individuality. Like, I'm not
Yes.
just mom. Like, I
Mhm.
do something for me, and now, like, I can see that in them with their individuality and wanting to do things. They don't always have to, rely on me to do things and stuff. Like, my daughter got mad because I didn't stop to give her a kiss. I'm like, "I'm sorry. I was
Oh my
running."
god.
Like, blow kisses next
Yes.
time, and
Yeah.
but to me, it teaches them. I don't know. I could be wrong
It
and people could
does.
disagree. So, and
No,
I'm
No,
fine with that.
absolutely.
I my mother-in-law, this is a little bit like the squirrels ran away, but my mother-in-law told me this the other day. So she said that men can't find things because back in the day, in the caveman days, they were the hunters. So they always had to look far out. And that's why they can't see anything right in front of them. And women were the gatherers. So they were always, one second, they were always looking around like right in front of them. And that's why women can find things. But also that's why women always stay home with the children because it was too dangerous to take the children hunting. And they wouldn't have been able to find anything because children and men, like,
Yeah,
they
no,
can't find
the child would be lost. They're like, "Where'd the kid go?" Oh,
where
I
they go.
don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. So when you're like, oh, where did that come from? I don't know if that's
Back in the
obviously
caveman
true,
days, we'll
but
just blame it on the cavemen.
yeah, I'm never gonna look it up because I'm like, you know what? I like that enough to just
I'm gonna keep that. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna
this
put it in my
explains so
brain.
much. And I'm just gonna laugh now every time my husband can't find something. Be
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna be like, it's because you were a hunter
yeah,
back in the day, and I am the gatherer.
yes, I love that.
Yeah, so
That's awesome.
it's been since the caveman days that women have just been they couldn't leave. They had to just gather from around their caves and look for things, and take care of the children. So,
That's
Mom
so
life.
awesome.
yeah, on that note.
On that note, that is why I thrive off coffee. Coffee in the chaos.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Brittany, you said you have some huge goals coming up in the future. You're going for like that sub 150 half marathon. You're tackling a full Ironman, hopefully the Kona. Coming up to what is helping you like fuel those dreams? What's keeping that spark alive, that vision alive? Because I think a lot of times, we can put these goals out there and they can feel a little daunting or a little intimidating. I know all three of us have our particular goals that we have coming up in the next few years. Like, what keeps you dreaming through this process? What keeps you putting yourself out there?
I think it goes back to that the saying anything is possible and the fact that like I mean I legit was told I should have died. I legit told I'd never race again and the fact that I've come back and said, "You know what? I want to prove that impossible doesn't exist or impossible does exist." Sorry, I said that wrong. That you can. So I think setting the big goals. I always even before I stopped doing triathlons. I had the goal to go to Kona and I was like, oh, I have a cancer story. I can, build. And I went from a sub 14 to a sub 12 hour finish thinking, okay, I can build and build and build and was kind of hitting my peak right as I had the heart failure, which flipped everything completely upside down to okay, I want to make a comeback and prove that you can keep going. And then it's like, wow, my comeback is actually stronger. I feel stronger. I'm running faster than I used to run, for me and what I feel is fast. And now it's like I really want to see what I'm capable of doing for me personally, and to kind of tie into that story, like that setback happened and it made me stronger. And now, like, I mean, I ran 850 pace this past week. I was on track to do a 150 half marathon until mile 11 and my body said no. But, I've learned to just embrace that and be like, okay, while I didn't hit it, I still broke 2 hours. So I'm happy, I don't let the goal dictate what I want to do. It's a goal that I set for me. At the end of the day, it is finishing. But I think Kona's just always been out there. And I remember we went to Hawaii for my 40th birthday and I fell in love with it. I still look at houses on Zillow that we can't afford. Maybe one day. But it's like, you know what? I can do this. Like, who's to say I can't? Even if my story isn't told through it, and why not work hard to do it? And, while I don't have a coach and ChatGPT coaches me, like I want to see what I can do to again kind of tie back into anything is possible. I'm not fast, but maybe I can be fast enough for that race to get the qualifying, even if it's a roll down slot, which I would be perfectly happy with. So, I don't know. I think it's just continuing to prove that you can do things that you put your mind to and, don't quit. Don't give up. I used to quit and give up all the time and all you're going to be left with is regrets and you're not going to be happy and it's going to fall back into that darkness that I experienced in my experience that like giving up on things is not going to help you progress and grow and succeed. I hope that makes sense. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Made sense in my head until I said it. I'm like, did that
No,
even
it makes sense.
Okay.
It's perfect. Honestly, I think because Otherwise, we would have asked you, like, what is the thing that keeps you fighting back and what advice would you have? But I think you just said it perfectly, is just to not quit. And I think you said it at the beginning of the episode that a diagnosis does not define you. And I think you have embodied that so beautifully. And it's been so amazing to hear your story. It's just like a very, very real, tangible story to hear about how, like, you can have very difficult, horrible things happen in your life, but it's not a defining moment, and that it's okay to just be in the season that you're in, no matter what that looks like.
Yeah. That's, I think, the biggest lesson I've learned through all of this is to embrace the season you're in, but don't let it define who you are or the outcome of it, because this too shall pass, as they say.
Mhm. Yes. And
So,
I think that's relatable for people who haven't necessarily been through health problems, but even if it's just a difficult postpartum season, or maybe you aren't able to run through pregnancy, maybe you are not at the point where it feels good anymore and you've had to take a step back, even though the first part of your pregnancy felt good or something, that just being okay with that is just the season that you're in and that it doesn't define what you're going to do next.
yeah. Well, and our bodies are so different. Like I don't really remember much of my first pregnancy. The heart failure, I mean, it was the best pregnancy I ever had. My son's pregnancy, I was so sick. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. I morning sickness, afternoon sickness, like
Yeah.
nausea all the time. Like I hated it. I would not have been, had I been running, I would not have probably been able to continue to run.
Yeah.
And then with my last pregnancy, unfortunately, I don't really remember much of it because of all the trauma, but it's you got like you said, the season you're in, embrace it. It will pass.
Mhm.
And everybody's different. Your pregnancy is going to be different than the next person. So
Yeah.
it kind of ties into that comparison. And I was talking to my daughter about this morning. Like, comparison literally is the thief of joy. Like, you cannot
Yes.
compare what somebody else is doing or did, because that's their story.
Yeah.
This is your story.
And
So
I think sometimes we can get too like tunnel vision with that, where we think that like our story needs to replicate somebody else's in order to get the same result, and that's not the case. Like, I mean, even Olivia and I, like, we look at our progression wise, she comes from a totally different side of running and coming into it at a later age, and her progression was a lot bigger. Like, there was some huge like leaps and hurdles that she was able to overcome, versus mine was kind of like a slow and steady burn, but it was like quick to get to a certain level, but then I'm like been there for a while. And I just think it's so interesting. Like, we can't compare, and we all have like a purpose. I truly do believe that. Like, you talked about a little bit about your faith and how you really are leaning into like you have a purpose here. You have something to teach and something to also learn. And I think that's for each and every one of us here, regardless of what our values or religious beliefs or if we have them or not. Like, we all do have a sense of purpose as human beings. And
mhm.
I think when we remember that, like, that we are painting and we are writing our own literal books, it's like it makes it easier to like hone into that and lean into that and know that, like, okay, my season is teaching me something. Like, there is a particular reason why you are where you're at with the goals and the visions and the things that are being pressed upon your heart and where your family's at, and trusting that process, letting your story pan out to what it's supposed to be, and instead of resisting it. I think the moment we stop resisting our story and start leaning into it, I think that's when we get to really learn the most. Because every time I've ever tried to resist a season or a chapter or like fight back on it, I've always just come out of it like angry and negative,
Yeah.
and almost like lost the opportunity of seeing the bigger picture, seeing the moment of what it could have taught me.
Yeah. Well, that's why I've learned to embrace. Like, I'm okay.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna tell it. I'm gonna learn how to tell it, and I'm gonna post about it. And I mean,
Yes.
I'm still learning and I'm trying to figure it out. But I mean, I used to be like, no, like I was always scared to share it because I didn't want to ever feel like I was one upping, or like I in a way felt embarrassed by it. But at the end of the day, it could help somebody. And I've had people reach out. Like I blogged many years ago when blogs were actually cool, which if they still are, sorry. And people would like read it and be like, I feel like you're just sitting there telling me your story and it's so
Yeah.
cool and I love it and you inspired me. And I had somebody reach out like, hey, I had a heart attack and now I'm racing and did a half marathon and signed up for a race. And that's what fills my heart. Like, okay,
Yeah.
somebody saw it, it reached one person, I made a difference.
Mhm.
Obviously I have the grand dream of like, oh, I want to get it out there and really make this big, but at the same time it's going to reach the people that it needs to reach. So I've learned to just, it's not about being big and noticeable and popular. It's about reaching the right people and just not being afraid to put it out there and share it and just say, hey, this is who I am. Socially awkward, been through a lot of shit. Life sucked, but I'm still here and now I'm racing again and so can you. So
Love that.
anyways, that's the short version of it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that. I think that your story is going to touch many people. Either way, I know it's going to leave people feeling inspired. And we will link your Instagram in the show notes, and that way people can connect with you. And we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time for this. And you guys, everybody, thank you for listening. Since we are building a new platform, we still are appreciating all the ratings. Subscribe, share, and again, reach out to us with any of your shout outs. We really, really love them. And yeah, I think I covered everything. I wasn't reading it because my phone isn't actually open. So I keep looking
You
down
did
at
great. I love it.
yeah, I'm like,
No.
it's not open. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much, Brittany. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing. Love the podcast. So yes, do all the things she said because you guys are great. I love it.
Thank you. Oh, thank
We
you.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.